Hello everybody and welcome to Photopsia. This is an itch.io. It was in the horror page, so I guess it's a horror game about something. Photopsia is a tale of horror inspired by the phenomenon of, Photopsia. Oh, they wrote that so weird. They wrote it like they're talking to you. Hold on, let me read it again, like a sane person. Photopsia is a tale of horror inspired by the phenomenon of, Photopsia. They wrote it like I was gonna say it, and so now I'm all... I'm playing the game! It's a phenomenon where you look at the stars. Had the girl known the events that would follow her suspension would lead to, she might have tried never to let things get that far. Am I going crazy? Am I losing my mind? Had the girl known what the events that would follow her suspension would lead to, she might have tried never to let things get that far. Good. However, deep down she should have known that they would be nothing short of a blessing. Perhaps morality was just not something a 14-year-old teenager would much care for. Or perhaps the fact that she had been met with various misfortunes along those years had dulled it. For the girl... Wait, hold on. Potentially... No. Dang it. I was hoping there'd be an auto... like a text-to-speech thing, and I could leave. Dang it! For the girl, daily life was miserable and mundane. It was like a disgusting swampy cocktail that consisted of a routine as dull as lead, mixed with the dash of animosity for her human peers. It's too early for this! It had only been a matter of time before the girl's mind became clouded by a thick, dense fog. An apathetic kind of nihilism that made everything feel pointless. To a certain extent, that had always been part of her, but ended up significantly thickening during the past 2 years. Today, however, the girl had a reason to be proud of herself. The monotonous routine had been broken. She wouldn't have to return to her peers anytime soon, but she couldn't express it properly, and there wasn't anyone to convey it to. She was giddy as could be. Ooh. As the girl turned the key to her house and opened the front door, the familiar dim and cramped hallway greeted her. No one was home. No, it's not as if she had expected anyone to be, but it was still a slight blow to the girl's mood. It's quite typical for no one to be home. As usual, the girl's father was absent. His trips tended to leave him out of the picture for at least a week. He was a truck driver that transported goods through various European nations. Good lord. It wasn't something to brag about, but it was enough to support both of them. In the current situation, his absence could be considered a blessing. There'd be no angry yelling, or at least not face-to-face. It was a detestable situation that left no one happy, but supposedly it was a parent's duty to scold their child whenever they did something socially unacceptable. Jesus Christ! What the heck happened? The girl stepped inside, swinging the door behind her. She freaking opened a void and walked in. What the heck? What happened? As she flipped the light switch to her right, wiped her shoes on the doormat, she murmured, "I'm home." Crouching down to slip off her shoes, she pulled open the worn-out, askew shoe rack and exchanged them for a pair of simple home slippers. Jesus! Well, this is brutal. Still bending over, her eyes lingered on her lower legs, investigating the shallow cuts that dotted them. Most already had proper scabs. Several streaks of blood had flown down and stained her socks. Wasn't a lot of blood. Okay, but the wound still had bled more than expected. As the girl stared, she bit her lip in discomfort. The usual lights had begun to dance in front of her eyes. The girl wasn't used to getting injuries that made her bleed. Hours earlier, the girl had gotten into a physical fight at school. The brawl had, unsurprisingly, concluded with her getting knocked out into the bushes growing in the school's courtyard, which ended up having surprisingly sharp thorns. Jeez. Maybe it had been a mistake to attack the classmate with a beefcake of a boyfriend, but on an emotional level, it seemed to have been satisfying at least. At least it's not a self-injury thing. Of course, the rowdy chihuahua-like girl had acted like she was a pure, innocent victim, and thus she and her older, serial repeater bodyguard had gotten off scot-free. The girl lightly touched her bruised eye. Now and again it would visibly throb, gradually worsening the swelling. She sighed and carefully placed her backpack on the floor. It was sturdy despite being second-hand. so it luckily hadn't really gotten scratched up during her tumble into the bushes. With a dismayed look, the girl blinked a few times, trying to get the stars to leave her vision. It was getting really annoying. They danced endlessly, almost in a taunting manner. Shutting her eyes, the girl took a few deep breaths. Doing so for about a minute usually helped her with getting them out of her sight. She's gone. Naturally, it worked this time as well. Ha! As the girl got up, slipping... I don't know why I'm treating everything like it's a jump scare. As the girl got up, slipping her feet into the slippers, she took a key ring from her coat pocket and locked the front door with the thickest of the keys. Along with the key on her bicycle lock, a metallic four-leaf clover dangled from the ring. It says Iris on it. The middle of it was engraved with the girl's name. Oh. Turning the key ring to its usual pocket, Iris tiredly let her coat slip from her shoulders, hanging it on one of the 3 lonely hooks. Jeez whiz, to her left and the right side of the door. Ha! Picking up her bag again, Iris switched off the entry hall light and proceeded into the living room. Well, this is cozy, and it's also the kitchen, apparently. The living room had 3 functions. It was, oh, there we go. Kitchen, dining room, and the name implies a living room. Every room's a living room. Except the one in my house. I have one room that's not a living room. Anyway, though now that her father was gone, she wouldn't be using the dining area. The dining table was more of a formality. Iris herself preferred to eat on the couch while watching television. Nice. Thumbs up for you. There were 4 other rooms in the house. 2 small bedrooms, a bathroom, and a small utility closet with a washing machine, a dryer, and other cleaning tools. Overall, the room was a little cramped, but the girl was at ease with that. She was used to small spaces. It was big open ones that instilled discomfort in her. The furniture was was overall pretty dull. The house had come with it, as had all the homes which the girl and her father had resided in throughout Iris's life. The only piece of furniture that hadn't come with the house was a small freezer for her father. For her father always seemed worried about running out of food. It's such a weird way of wording that. It was stocked up with cheap frozen pizzas, cheap ice cream, and meat. They never took any other furniture with them, as everything was of mediocre quality and did its job as adequately as possibly could without ever being too good. Years ago, in another town, the girl had noticed... Why did the music stop? The girl had noticed how much more comfortable her friend's house was. It had been quite a shock, especially when the friend had insisted that it wasn't that great. Sometimes the girl pondered whether she and her father would have nice furniture if her mom had been alive. Typically, the 2 of them would have left this place a year ago, but yet they remained stuck in this place. Did it stop because I'm reading so slowly? The 2 had rarely ever lingered anywhere for longer than a year, and unfortunately for Iris, they were currently stuck in this place. Okay, geez whiz, sorry. My computer almost crashed. Like, everything stopped. It was like, hurt! The music stopped, everything stopped. So, anyway, good lord. So, I guess it just brought me here. I think that was the end of the conversation, because I didn't click anything. Lost in thoughts, Iris absent-mindedly entered her own bedroom and dropped her backpack off her shoulder to the next to the dresser. The room was impersonal, save for the things on top of her dresser and the star-themed bedsheets, which she had gotten for her birthday a few years ago. On top of the dresser, there were books, small gemstones, and a glass of water. Okay. The books were mainly ones that Iris needed for school. However, there was a scrapbook and a library book about ghost sightings among them as well. Nothing intrigued the girl like a good scary story. Bah! Anyway, God dang it. Iris tried to be skeptical about the described sightings, but after seeing some of the photos and reading some of the passages, it was something that was easier said than done. She couldn't help but feel somewhat paranoid whenever a particularly scary passage or image randomly popped up in her mind. Great, well now I'm doing it right now. Oh boy, there's a lot of them. Iris really wanted to keep it, but the book would need to be returned to the library next week. Generally, the girl liked pretty and unusual things, and thus, over time, she had collected gems, namely a tiger's eye, and a blue sunstone and amethyst. But those were primary focus around the time she first discovered gemstones. Later in her gem phase, okay, that's her first phase. You have no idea how many phases there are. She had taken more of a liking to iridescent gems such as labradorite, opal, and fluorite. Okay. Even if spending money on them meant she could buy other things, Iris would rather spend money on colorful stones than on new, second-hand clothing, even if it got her into trouble with her peers. Besides, at this point in time, the hatred between her and her classmates was unfixable. Even if she somehow would begin wearing the newest of new, it's not as though it would magically fix her social life. Before she had started collecting gemstones, Iris had been collecting pretty-looking pebbles. Whenever she saw one in someone's garden, she would take it, like a thief! Anyway, no one would miss them, and she found it a waste to have such a pretty stone be left unacknowledged. This very day, Iris still carries the prettiest of pebbles in her backpack at all times to look at them more closely during school breaks whenever she fell down. Taking a pebble to school was a lot less risky than taking any of her gemstones with her. After all, no one would go out of their way to steal a pebble. You did! She hoped. Iris crouched down next to her bag, took out her phone and her charger. Oh jeez, I did that voice thing. And now I'm dying. Plugging the said charger into the socket next to her bed once she had connected the phone. Oh, there it is, over there. It wasn't very low on battery, but she preferred to keep it fully charged, as it was less likely to be unexpectedly shut down that way. As even with the new battery, it was a bit unstable. The phone's design was a rip-off of one of the more popular brands. It was a 4th generation old, and it was a second-hand one as well. To her father's anger, it had come with a crack on the screen that hadn't been in the seller's image. This phone had been the girl's birthday present this year, and even though the quality wasn't as high as her classmates, and it wasn't good enough to play games bigger than 2 megabytes, it had overjoyed her to finally get a phone that she could use to surf the net and watch online videos with. It's only natural for Iris to have her phone on her, with her father being out so much. The previous one had been very old model. She kept it just in case her new one would break down, or for when someone would destroy it on purpose. Well, don't you start the fights? It seems like she starts the fights. Your fault. Anyway, I'm sure it's not. They'll explain something later. Plopped down on her bed of stars. As she did, she saw the dancing lights again. She sighed, but stared at them for a while. The fight had tired her. Even though it hadn't lasted longer than a few minutes, it was more than she could handle. Due to the stars that would pop up whenever she exercised or got dizzy, her father had told her that she wasn't allowed to do sports. At school, she was only allowed to participate with the warm-ups during PE. Nice. Lucky. Though he had arranged to protect her, it had backfired and become just another excuse for her classmates to single her out. Iris frowned and swatted one of the stars before closing her eyes. It was almost as if she felt something when hitting it, but her father had told her not to focus on them too much, as it could permanently damage her eyes. The girl was skeptical to believe that it actually... oh geez, there's more of them. Was how it worked, but did as she was told anyway, just in case. Iris sat up slowly and opened her eyes again, while simultaneously taking out her nightgown from under her pillow that was there for some reason. Even though the routine had been drastically disrupted, it seemed that it hadn't changed the girl's daily course of action all that much. Peeing on the couch. Oh no. After having a shower, Iris bandaged up the cuts on her legs, put on her nightgown, and threw the clothes she had worn into the washing machine. Usually she would have showered right before going to bed and washed her clothes on the weekend, but she had bled a bit into God dang it, onto them and didn't like wearing filthy clothes. The girl's sweater was her only warm piece of clothing, and her skirt was the only one that still fit her. Her father did not have the money nor the time to get anything else. He always insisted on joining her to select clothing that didn't stand out too much, but his taste was so old-fashioned that Iris, despite his efforts, ended up sticking out like a sore thumb. Whenever she would confront him with it, he would get angry and start yelling at her, and thus Iris feared to bring it up again. Can I... hold on, text speed... auto roll backside. Skip unseen text, whatever that is. Okay, never mind. I was hoping I could make it a little bigger. Freaking driving me nuts. He would get angry and start yelling at her, and thus Iris feared to bring it up again. Clothes shopping was always something that was procrastinated. It was not as if her father had actually promised her to do it, so she had no reason to expect him to ever come along. And so there was no reason to expect getting any new clothes either. She had to take care of the ones she had. As the washing machine filled up with water, the girl left the utility closet. She hadn't eaten anything until lunchtime. The kitchen didn't quite have a proper counter. It had been replaced with a small freezer. Thus, Iris and her father would just use the dinner table to prepare food. Tonight's dinner would most likely be pasta, arugula, and steak. The girl's cooking skills were above average when compared to those of her peers, as to be expected of someone who was home alone so often. Her pepper to salt ratio seemed to be close to perfection, and she had a great fondness for garlic. Ha! The girl got out a knife and ripped off a clove of garlic stored in the fridge. As she cut into the piece, she wore a satisfied smile. The soft sound of a knife tapping against the cutting board was mild and pleasant. Even once the clove was divided into dozens of smaller pieces. This is gonna get dark, isn't it? Iris kept cutting them up into smaller pieces. Every steak she prepared, she made with garlic. She even smeared garlic butter on top of it. Not only that, any sandwich that wasn't sweet would have some buttery spread. I love garlic. It's so good. She'd also smeared it on her steaming hot pizzas, right as they were fresh out of the oven. Her cooking was limited to whatever her father could afford, but once in a while, he would buy some spices for Iris to experiment with. This time it was rosemary, the dew of the sea. Cutting up things was Iris's favorite part of cooking. Of course it was. Along with creating sauces, it felt a bit like she was making a magic potion. After a while, the pasta was boiling and the juicy steak was sizzling in garlic-filled olive oil. Eventually, the meal was on her plate with a predictable addition of arugula, as the girl sat on the couch watching the news, watching the usual reporter. Whenever her father was at home, they'd usually joke about the awfully coordinated and expensive clothing everyone was wearing. A food scandal! Uh-oh. Steaks! They're filled with bacteria. They got the smallpox again. Recent reports of elevated quantities of horse meat have been found in several meat products sold at fast food chains and supermarkets. This meat originates from a foreign company. When reaching out to the supplier of the meat about the matter, they had no comment. Iris rolled her eyes. Horse again? Figures. Are they even expecting them to respond? Of course they wouldn't. Oh boy. I did something. Oh, interesting. If I use the scroll, it can go like back and forth. Oh man, she's just rolling her eyes. Where am I? A delicious horse bite. The girl stared at her own steak, squinting a bit. Was it horse meat? She examined it for a bit longer before shrugging and sticking the piece into her mouth. When reaching out to the supermarket, they said all the meat is horse meat. All of it. Fast food chains that did business with a horse meat supplier, all of them stated that they would cut ties with the company. In other news, even more people have gone missing this week. What's the deal with do they put it in because it would be cheaper? I feel like raising horses and then using them for meat would be more expensive. Like, why would there be horse meat? Whatever. In the majority of the reported cases, the missing person had last been seen traveling by train. Rumors of a serial killer are on the rise, however, the local police forces that investigated the disappearance quickly missed them. We don't want to rush to any conclusions. There's not enough evidence to conclude there even is a serial killer involved. The common denominator of these problems why can't I speak today? It's because I haven't drank anything and my throat is dry as a bun. They're loners with a history of mental health problems. There's no evidence suggesting that any of them have been abducted, harmed, or even followed around for that matter. Our officers are working hard to locate the potential victims, but so far we don't have any solid leads. If you have any information that could aid the police in the investigation, please call the number currently on the screen. There's nothing there! Or contact the police force. Now on to the weather. There's serial killers raining out of the sky. They're killing all the horses. Iris groaned. The commercials were always 7 to 8 minutes. Jeez. I often repeat the same garbage commercials over and over again. Do you like horse meat? Program brought to you by Minty Fresh Toothpaste. 2 treatments with Minties a day will keep the cavities away. Are you tired of having bowel troubles? Fund our research on synthetic organs. Fund now and receive special privilege once our research is finalized. Iris zapped away. What? Her father didn't really care about watching commercials, but she didn't want to waste her time with them. Eventually, she found a channel with a baking competition that looked interesting. She probably would not really get the means to make the same recipes herself, but that didn't dismay the joy of watching them. Contestants had to make apple pies, oh boy, of their preference. Oh, what'd you put in this one, Tom? What'd you put in there? Oh, I put peaches. You failed. Everybody's making apple pies. What do you mean, preference? 2 people would kick out at the end of the episode. The girl eagerly stared at the creation of the apple pies. From our nation's typical crumble apple pies to lattice pies to apple... Oh, great. Well, now you're proving me wrong. I was just making an apple pie joke. They all looked mouth-watering to her. As the girl passively finished her food and left the TV on the background, Iris hastily collected everything dirty and put it in the sink. She spread out dishcloth under the freezer and began washing the dishes. Of course, she wanted to see what was going on in the cooking program, but what she wanted even more was to go to bed. Sleep was already in her eyes. She had trouble keeping them open. One was already like... Oh, the bruise didn't help either. God dang it! Stop calling me out before I freaking make a joke. TV was hard to hear with the background noise of the sink and of the dishes as Iris scrubbed them clean in the bubbly water. Once she finished cleaning the knives, she was a bit more absent-mindedly. Her eyes closing for a few seconds as she kept working her hand. Gradually, she spaced out more and more, making the process slower. Once she was done, the cooking show had already ended and the commercials had started playing. Oh boy. Iris sighed and carefully dried off the cutlery, returning them to their respective locations, and then spaced them out once more. Again, she saw lights dancing in her eyes, but she was too drowsy to care. Can I hit space? Yes. Even the washing machine cycles were done by now, so she made haste to the laundry room. Without bothering to turn on the lights in the laundry room, she robotically took her clothes out of the washing machine, shut it down, and threw the clothes in the dryer. As she shut the door behind her. On a typical day, Iris would have drank a cup of tea before bed, but today she wouldn't even get to drink her tea before falling asleep. However, today Iris just turned off the television and living room lights and she returned to her own room. The girl tiredly walked over to the bed and plopped into it. Once she had properly gotten herself under the blanket, she almost immediately drifted off. That was a weird noise. The pleasant scent of bergamot was the very first thing I noticed upon waking up. Oh, geez. Sat a small yet elegant table, a teapot, 2 teacups, and a refined cake stand. Without really thinking about it, I took the cup of tea into my hand. Oh, your wounds are all healed. That's nice. It felt light and was unfilled. How peculiar. So sure that it had been filled when I picked it up. Ah! Frowning, I looked down at it, and as I did, the cup gained weight and filled with hot tea. It was a bit surprising, but luckily I didn't drop it. My eye fell on the chair across from mine. It was empty, yet the teacup on the other side contained hot tea. Was I waiting for someone? Was this some kind of meeting? It had to be. Somehow I just knew it. I fixed my posture and straightened my back. Who was I meeting? I couldn't remember, but for some reason I was sure someone would come around and tell me something important. What's wrong, dear? You look so confused. Ha! Oh, jeez. It's me. Blinking. Oh, jeez. Huh. I looked over at the other seat, but it didn't see anyone. It couldn't be that I was meeting someone who was invisible. Down here, girl. Come on, don't you forget about me, right? My eyes shifted downward. Wait, downworld? Was it coming from the teapot? Now and then steam would come out of the teapot spout. It was almost rhythmical, as if it was breathing. I tried to swallow the lump in my throat. I didn't want to offend the teapot. Of course I didn't. Gotta get out of here. I tried to jeez whiz. I tried to say it with conviction, but it was clear I was lying. Oh, hi. This is awkward. So what am I drinking right now? What's coming out of there? Oh, jeez. Oh, dear. You did, didn't you? A wave of shame flooded over me. I bit my lip and looked away. I couldn't face the teapot. What is happening? To have a meeting and not even know the person who was serving our snacks and tea was utterly disrespectful. A real reputation ruiner. Now, don't fret. It's fine, really. I'm just a freaking teapot. Honestly, I shouldn't have expected you to know. Feel free to call me Miss Teapot. I'm not gonna do that. Miss Teapot, isn't that kind of stupid? Is what I wanted to say, but I held my tongue. I didn't want to offend the lady anymore. How do you know it's a lady? Oh, because she said miss. Even though she had told that it was okay, it really wasn't. At least not in my opinion. It's nice to meet you. I'm Iris. I know that. I know everything. You just drank my innards. Ugh. It's nice to see you again, Iris. Sorry, I don't remember our former meeting. Or meetings. That's fine, nothing particularly interesting happened. So it's only natural for you to forget. But, still. I mean, it's a talking teapot. That's pretty interesting. Enough, girl! I only have so much patience for endless, unproductive apologies. Just say thank you and be done with it. Jeez. Sudden sharp tone threw me off. It was very frank. Usually people didn't respond like that, but then again, Miss Teapot wasn't exactly a person. Thanks. Isn't that much better? Now we can have a productive conversation. Right. Speaking of which, why are you standing on the table, Miss Teapot? If you, talking about being rude, you're standing on the table. What? What should I ask her about? Ask her about the person I'm supposed to meet. Who am I meeting? I mean, I assume the teacup isn't for you since you can't drink from it or sit on that chair without it being unpractical, at least. But you're meeting someone important. That doesn't tell me anything. That's all you need to know. Is it? Do you at least know if they're human or another teapot? No. Are they some kind of cutlery or something? Did I meet them before? Maybe. Fine. Can you tell me anything? Why should I tell you? Why are you being a jerk? This conversation isn't going anywhere. Where are we? The teapot chuckled. Did it? How? A small puff of steam. Oh, that's how. Escaped the spout. Does that really matter? I thought for a while. Did it matter? I looked around. Only then did I notice that the table was surrounded by a dark, dense fog. The table wasn't smothered in it due to some kind of peculiar spotlight that hung above. Ugh. A sense of dread washed over me. How hadn't I noticed the surroundings up till now? Fog moved, squished, and squirmed in an unnatural manner. In the distance, I heard a disgusting wet sound. Ugh. Somehow, I felt like calling out the elephant in the room would kill the light above and let the mist invade the area the tea table was in. What if it would hurt me? No, something like that would definitely hurt me. If it could get to me, I'm sure. Anxiously, I bit my lip as I turned my attention back to the teapot and decided to drop the subject. I guess not, really. I couldn't help but wonder whether the teapot felt the same as me about the dark fog. Even if she did, she probably wouldn't tell me. Oh, what should I ask her about? About you. You're a teapot. Way to freaking just... Very rude. I'm aware. Do you like being a teapot? You like being human? It's alright. I hadn't really thought about it. I guess it was an odd question. Not in particular, I guess. As compared to what? Well, there's your answer then. I see. What else could I ask? If I'd ask her... Jeez whiz. If I'd ask her if she likes the way she looks, she'd probably just ask me if I like how I look or something similar. Do you have any hobbies? Do I look like I have hobbies? So I guess the answer is no. I like badminton. Yeah. It's kind of awkward. The dread that had filled me with just a few moments earlier made way for irritation. Teapot had no useful information whatsoever. It was all just vague nonsense. Why couldn't she just tell me? Could it be that she was putting up the high and mighty act because I have amnesia? Do you just not know things yourself? Your cryptic answers are useless. Jeez. You should just tell me if you don't know something. Such impudence! Child, perhaps you should remain prudent for your own good. What are you going to do about my impudence? You're just a teapot. Why don't you help me instead of just acting as if you're so smart and better than me? You were far less obnoxious when you were more meek. It's no wonder you don't have any friends. Ooh. Ooh. Brutal, man. Why you gotta be freaking cutting so deep, Teapot? Ouch. That one stung. I didn't really have a retort for that since, well, it was true. As I averted my eyes, they fell on the snack tray. Just throw her out into the fog. See how she likes that. I bet she'd tell you some questions then. Or give you some answers, rather. As I averted my eyes, they fell into the snack tray. It was not filled with regular snacks and cakes, but with small floating stars. Curiously, I picked one of the shiny snacks. It felt oddly warm and left a tingling sensation on my fingers. Having nothing to lose, I popped the star into my mouth. I died instantaneously. Having nothing to lose, yeah. Oh, there. The star seemed to have somewhat sugary sweet shell. But as I bit into it, a thick, cold, sauce-like liquid came out, filling up my whole mouth with something like a condensed milk-like flavor. As I savored it, it hanged into something... What? As I savored it, hanged into something hot, more akin to cherry. It was a bit like ice cream with hot cherries on top, yet it was unlike anything I had tasted before. Jeez, it was. I couldn't help let out a satisfied sigh. It was absolutely perfect. Miss Teapot let out a somewhat condescending giggle. Every time you act as if it's the first time you've tasted one, even though you stuff your mouth with them each and every time. Huh? Really? This taste is so different. I can't even imagine forgetting something this tasty. But you did forget it, didn't you? I'm fairly sure some people would kill for your talent at forgetting things. It's not that bad. It's not like I forget everything, it's just that I'm having a hard time thinking in this place. And that doesn't apply to other places? Of course not! Then what other places do you remember? At the gas station? I closed my eyes for a brief moment thinking about it. But no matter how deep I dug into my mind, nothing came up. No images, no thoughts, nothing. Couldn't recall anything outside of this space. Why not? That didn't make any sense. Sure, I hadn't just existed inside this space all this time. I don't really remember anything else. Then it really is a talent, is it not? Don't just blurt out nonsense without thinking about it. Why is this teapot so rude? Who put this teapot here to make fun of me? The cup fills with tea automatically. I don't need you. Jeez, a whiz. Don't just blurt out nonsense. Yeah. But I'm not a lady. I'm a girl. A young lady, then. Whatever. I don't care anymore. Just stop antagonizing me. I didn't do anything wrong, yet you're treating me as if this amnesia is somehow my fault. Why didn't you work on trying to help me instead of just looking for excuses to act condescending and mean? Well, you can't really blame me for not being a hothead, can you? You are a freaking teapot. I was born in heat and born to be very hot. To be the very hothead I am today. Letting out a frustrated huff, I took my teacup and brought it to my lips. The bergamot scent was typical for Earl Grey, but I couldn't detect another aroma, too. It was something citrus-like. To be exact, it smelled like orange. So then this was Lady Grey, not Earl Grey. I had no idea why I knew something so insignificant, yet remembered almost nothing else. But at least it was something. As I took a sip from the tea, I couldn't help but notice that it was somewhat bland. It was as if the tea leaves had been used a second time and were close to being exhausted. Wondering about the mixture and slightly curious whether it had been typical blue cornflower petals that were supposed to be among them, I raised the lid off Miss Teapot and peeked into it. Really? Just like that? Hey, I won't stand. You can't. You're a teapot. Don't just do as you please with my body, you insolent child. Jeez, don't make it sound so dirty. There were no leaves inside at all. In fact, it was not even tea inside, just hot water. For some reason, I couldn't help but feel smug. Why, there's no tea inside at all. Oh my, even though you're a teapot, all you have inside is unflavored hot water. What's the point of that? Is this not due to your own incompetence? Oh jeez, even my own tea is somewhat bland. Is this all you could do? Dang! Savage! Watch your tongue, or else I'll make sure you'll burn it on your next cup. Besides, this is your responsibility, not mine. Huh? What do you mean by that? While I may provide the water, and will always keep it hot, it's your task to find tea leaves. How am I supposed to find them in a place like this? Oh, they're like all over the freaking text box here, and all over your box. It's probably not tea leaves. How should I know? You usually just disappear into the shadows for a while and then you come back with tea. Really? I have to go out? Into the darkness? That is correct. I stared into my teacup for a while. That the cup meant for the person or thing I was waiting for seemed to be cooling off. I couldn't deny that it would be inappropriate not to serve hot tea to someone I was meeting, especially not when I had drunk some before they arrived. Maybe they would come with tea themselves. That's something that I could hope for, but it wasn't certainty. Oop, I pressed something. Oh, it's fine. As I peered in the dark mist, I felt nothing but trepidation, as if going out would destroy me. Whether it was poison or some inexplicable dark being, it felt something hostile. I didn't want to go out into it. The mere idea sent shivers down my spine. Ah! To calm my nerves, I shoved a few stars in my mouth. This time, I let the outer shells melt, and the patience was rewarded. The taste was even smoother than before. I hummed, satisfied, as I finished my tea. Hesitantly, I peered over the tea meant for one person I was supposed to meet. Are you considering drinking it? Maybe. It's a yes or no question, so it is safe to presume that it is yes, then? I guess so. I mean, otherwise the tea will go cold, right? It'd be a waste. That's true, but maybe your company will like their tea cold. Maybe, but that's not something that is safe to assume. Just gonna drink their tea, huh? That is true as well, so will you drink it? I thought for a while drinking someone else's tea is rude, but if it meant that the guest would get new, fresh tea, it wasn't all that bad, was it? Depends on whether I'll be going out into the fog or not. So will you? Will I really find tea out there? Well, did you come back with fresh tea? You did come back with fresh leaves last time, but I can't guarantee it. Then it is safe, right? I won't die? Keep up, Bartet'll laugh. Do you think I can predict the future? Even if I claimed I could, why do you think my words would guarantee your safety? Fortune tellers often assume the safety of the person that pays them. But someone who dies after being told they'd live never lives to tell the tale. Oh, jeez. How assuring is that? What you're saying is that you don't know. No, what I'm saying is that I will say that you will survive if it makes you leave. You're an awful conversational partner. Dang, Miss Teapot. Freaking brutal. Don't worry, dear. You'll survive for sure. As if anyone would believe you after that little rant. Besides, you're the only one that's the awful conversation partner, not me. Sighing, I try to calm myself down. Just throw the teapot out there. The issue was whether or not the tea was worth it. Alright, I got a bottle of water because I was dying, and I made sure to spill it all over myself. Jeez, a whiz. I pondered for a while. Going out into the darkness felt as if it would be the death sentence. But if Miss Teapot insisted on the fact that I had returned from it before, I might not be as lethal as it appears to be. Well, I don't want to hang out with Miss Teapot forever. I think I'm going to go out into the freaking darkness. Let's do it! We're going! Alright, I guess I don't really have a choice. I took the teacup that was still full and downed the lukewarm tea. Wasn't really great, but it's not like I was expecting it to be. How boorish. Let's see. How about I give you an actual reason to complain? How do you plan to do that? Pushed my chair back with my feet and got up. As my feet made proper contact with the surface beneath them, I noticed how wet it was. Ugh. They had been touching the odd floor before, yet strangely enough I hadn't really paid mind to the water flooding it. Although it didn't go up all the way to the top of my toes, it was still a significant amount of water. But was I walking on top of water? Squinting, I peered into the liquid surface beneath my feet. Didn't see anything besides water, not even something that looked solid. How odd. There appeared to be some kind of tall grass around the table, but I simply couldn't wrap my mind around how it would grow without any earth beneath it. Tried forcing 1 foot deeper, but it seemed impossible. That probably meant it was stable, hopefully. Suddenly a realization hit me. What if this was the water that automatically filled up Miss Teapot? I made a face. The last thing I, or anyone else for that matter, would want in their tea was water that had been contaminated by someone's feet. Ugh. Oh, here I am. Shifting my attention back to the teapot, I walked over to her side of the table and stared down at her. I'm gonna take you with me. What? Yes! You can't do that. I probably can. I'm a teapot, not an adventurer. I hardly see the problem here. It's going to work out nicely for both of us. This way I won't be the only one that will get hurt if anything happens inside that fog. How will that work out nicely for me? If you get yourself killed, I won't be able to come back here myself. Ugh, I won't be able to come back here by myself. The next time I forget about things, you'll be able to brag. Oh my god. I'm losing my mind. Next time I forget about things, you'll be able to brag to me about how brave you are. I might even praise you, having forgotten how much of an unlikable person you are. I don't want to go. It is my duty to be here. Suppressing my smile with great effort, I tried to sound sarcastic as possible. Yet the mirth was audible in my voice. Wow, isn't that just too bad? That's so sad, my heart goes out to you, really. You're awful. You better watch your hands. I'll spill hot water all over them. I might just leave you somewhere over there if you do that, or even shatter you on the floor. How would you like that? The guests won't be pleased with that. Yes, but that doesn't matter if I'm dead, right? Oh, snap. I grinned as I carefully picked up the teapot, supporting the bottom with one hand and holding the handle with the other. Into the fog! Turning around to face the dark fog, it squished and squirmed as rapidly as it had done before. As I took a deep breath and stepped in, I stopped. I had wanted to move, I really had, but my legs refused to cooperate. The moment I turned around and faced the disgusting fog, they had locked in place. You're not going? That's lovely, we could both stay here then. Friend of the teapot in my hands forced a broad, cocky smile and flashed it at her. Once again, I took a deep breath before forcing my leg into the darkness. If anything motivated me, it was the will to get her to act unlike herself. Or at least that's what I was trying to convince myself of in my mind, to distract from the potential death sentence that this decision was. My right leg quickly followed, and before long I was out of the light and inside the darkness. For a while I just stood there. I was in some kind of surface. I was on the same kind of surface as I was at the table. Strangely enough, there was no vegetation beneath my feet. There was a bit of grassy scent in the air, which was quite relieving, as I had expected the fog to reek of either chemicals or death. It wasn't like I thought it to be, though the air was filled with more moisture than the area around the spotlight. It wasn't that hostile. That didn't mean I could just let my guard down. Maybe it would reveal its hostility later. Oh boy. Just as I thought that, my eyes adjusted to the darkness. As they did, I saw floating lights that I hadn't seen while sitting at the brightly lit table. For a while I admired the sight of the stars dancing freely inside the mist. Maybe they caused it to move in such a peculiar manner. I briefly wondered whether I could eat these too. Ah! But that's not what I was here for. Good lord. See, it's not that bad, you spineless coward. Jeez. You're right. Put me back then. Nope. I don't know if it will get worse yet. Fine. Let's get this over with. I nodded and cautiously advanced forward. Although it was a bit aimless, but I felt like relying on instinct in this place would probably work better than thinking about it. I get the feeling we'll be roaming around this darkness for a long time, since Miss Teapot is with me. I guess we could talk. Oh, jeez. Anyway, I've got to freaking end it. This is a very interesting story. I thought it was going to be a horror game, but now it's just kind of a weird... I'm not sure what kind of... Just a story-based game. Anyway, if you like this video, hit subscribe. I'll put a link in the description to the game. If you want to go check out some of the other videos, hit somewhere. Hit the button. I don't know. I'm losing my gourd. Goodbye! Jeez, a whiz.